What is going on, Internet? This is another video coming at you to Cardo Gaming. How's it going? Today I am presenting you with a new series of videos. It is a video called A Hollywood Pitch, where I pitch an idea for either a movie or maybe a remake of a certain movie or a plot line change in a Jurassic plot line change in a movie. These are actually ideas I've come up with on my own. So you're going to actually be the judge here. I've actually written a couple of these down. Actually, one of these actually have like half a script written, for at least the first couple chapters. But I want to hear your take on these ideas. These are completely original ideas, right out of my head. The first one I'm going to go over with. So this is how the series goes. I will present an idea. I will lay it out as much detail as I can without getting into like an actual script where verbatim, line for line, what's going to be said. And you're going to give me your thoughts. You're going to tell me that's a great idea, that's a horrible idea. You know, you should go jump off a bridge. You should actually pitch that to J.J. Abrams or whoever, George Lucas, whoever. So just let me know. So I have a couple ideas for some movies. Okay, first one is going to be a very unpopular one, but it is my idea to, if a different story line and story creation from the original trilogy of Star Wars. Before everyone starts getting in the comments, I can't change Star Wars, hear me out. It's a really good change, okay? So, this is the problem I have with Star Wars right now. So this would change a little bit of the dynamic, but I think it actually fixes a lot of the dynamic too. So, with Star Wars, you have, this is what we're supposed to believe. This is what is supposed to be believed. Now I'm assuming everyone watching this has seen Star Wars already. Okay, so this is what we're supposed to believe. We're supposed to believe a kid, 18 years old, we'll say Luke's 18, who's never used the Force, not willingly at least, maybe like on accident or whatever, never used the Force, and he gets like a couple days training from a man named ObiWan, and then gets maybe like a week or two training from Yoda, and does a lot of self-training and is able to go up against the greatest, one of the greatest Sith/Jedi ever. And Anakin spent 10 years as a Jedi, at least 20 years, almost 20 years as a Sith. So he spent almost 3 decades mastering and learning the Force. And we're supposed to believe that a kid named Luke Skywalker is supposed to show up and be able to best him in a duel and best him when it comes to the ways of the Force. I don't believe that that's a feasible story. There's a much better way to tell this story, which is what I'm going to get into right now. So Episode 3, if you've never seen Episode 3 of Star Wars, Luke and Leia are split up at birth. Leia is sent to live with Bail Organa, and Luke is sent to live with his aunt and uncle on Tatooine. I think I have a better option than living with his aunt and uncle. The best option would be to send Luke to live with Kenobi in isolation, but Kenobi, basically Luke's whole life, Kenobi teaches him the ways of the Force. From the moment he's able to walk, he's learning the ways of how to use the Force, so on and so forth. And because, you know, he's still a decade behind like Anakin, but Anakin never started at a young age, so I think he has a little bit of an advantage there because he started a little bit younger. However, before Obi-Wan can actually finalize his training and like really put him in the part where he's like ready to take on Vader, and he gets the droids show up. The droids say, "Hey, Leia needs help," yada yada yada. And then before his training can be finalized, he has to go do stuff on the Death Star, and then that's when Obi-Wan dies. And the reason why that's actually better is one, it makes it a point that Luke never finished his training. After years and years and years, he never got to that final stage. 2, it makes Kenobi's death a lot more personal because he actually has spent years knowing him. He spent like all of his life knowing nothing but Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now he knows, now he's dead, and it makes a lot more sense that he died, and Luke has like this, loss, and it's kind of on the same level as when Leia lost all of Alderaan. And I don't think Leia actually was able to actually do stuff with that, and that's actually going to play into another story idea I have, but I'll digress. So Luke still, all the events still play out pretty much the same. They destroyed the Death Star. Luke uses the Force to help him guide the missile into the Death Star and destroy it. The movie ends the same. Those things don't change. It's just kind of like character development, I think, is better for overall. Because without character development, Luke kind of looks like a Mary Sue. Not to the degree that Rey is, but Luke kind of does. You can also argue that in episodes 5 and 6, that Vader was holding back. He never actually was trying to kill Luke, never actually was trying to fight Luke, whatever. You can believe what you like, but I think that it's just shabby writing. You can also say that Vader, because he's like more robot, is just not very good at being like actual like fighting aspect. He's good at being just like a more of a like violent force. I don't personally believe that, but that's an option you can go with if you believe that, but I don't. So that's episode 4. Episode 5, he's still with the rebellion. He's still with Luke or Han and Leia, and that's when that Force ghost from Obi-Wan shows up and tells him where to find Yoda to finish his training, to complete the last part of his training. And Yoda doesn't want to do it at first. He has to convince Yoda that he's ready, yada, yada, yada. And then that happens. And I think at first Luke is like, you know what, piss on this. I'm just going to go fight Vader now. And that happens earlier in the movie than what it is originally. In the original one, he goes and trains with Yoda. Yoda trains him a little bit, and then he goes off to fight Vader. And then he gets his butt kicked, and he comes back to finish it, but he never actually finished it. Yoda dies, and I don't know how he completes his training, but Yoda dies, and his training's completed. I think what's his name? Luke goes there to train with Yoda. Yoda, like, kind of plays, like, hardball a little bit, and Luke's like, screw it, I'll just go fight Vader now. I'm ready. And he goes and gets his butt kicked, and then he comes back, and then he starts having to actually train again, and that's midway through the episode 5, and basically the end of the movie still plays out the same. Han gets frozen carbonite, Leia escapes, so on and so forth. I think Luke and Leia they're not in the same spot right now. They're actually not on the same ship. They're in different spots. So to start out with episode 6, Luke has to finalize his training. He finalizes his training. He gets a message from Leia explaining what happened with Han. He needs to finalize his training, and then Yoda dies. And he believes that he hasn't finished his training, but Obi-Wan has actually told him, like, your training is completed when you've kind of figured out your demons. Like, you have to confront your father and understand that he is your father, so on and so forth. And they have the same conversation. Why didn't you tell me he was my dad? Yada yada. Like, you really will truly be a Jedi when you can confront this without being emotional about it. And that's kind of compromises him a little bit. But and then he actually faces Vader and he wins in the battle. And him and his dad kill the Emperor. That is basically the story. And let me back up for a second. He still goes and saves Han. He still helps the rebellion in many different ways, but that main conflict, the main story arc of Luke, is still played out the same way in this. In the story, it's just, I think, his character development and development of his skills and his relationship with Ben Kenobi and his relationship with Yoda, I think that it better develops the character of Luke, because with the shoddy development of Luke you have now, it makes no sense whenever you go to episode 7, 8, 9. Why would he be trying to train young people to be Jedi when he really doesn't know that much about the Force? He hasn't been taught much by Obi-Wan. He hasn't taught much by Yoda. So it doesn't make sense why he would start training people. It makes more sense if the way I laid it out is by the end of episode 6, he is pretty much capable of training Leia to be a Jedi. That's the way I would lay that out. He's capable of training Leia. He's capable of training anyone really that has any kind of Force sensitivity, which a lot of people don't believe this, but I believe that actually Han has sensitivity. I don't think he should be a Jedi, but I think he has some. That's why his kids are a lot more powerful than Luke's kids when it comes to the expanded universe. I'm not going to get into the expanded universe. I don't think that's canon. As much as people want it to be, it's not. But there are some good storylines in that, and I think that's this one right here plays off a lot of those storylines. I think this is a better way to set up Luke's character arc, and going forward, it makes him a better character. Now, I do have another one. Another one of these I'm gonna do. So backtrack for a second. So that's the story. There's ins and outs. There's also a lot more detail. It can be thrown into it. But what do you think of that specific story of Luke? His origin story being a little bit different, rather than having Uncle and Aunt Beru. Now, I do think he should know of them, but they like protest to him training, Uncle or Ben Kenobi training him all the time and like pushing him too hard, and they protest to it all the time because that is technically their nephew. So I think that's going to be a part of it, and then they die, and that still spawns him to go join Obi-Wan in fighting with the rebellion. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Okay, this is alternate original Star Wars trilogy. That would be, I guess, the title of what this would be. And like I said, this is the Hollywood pitch episode 1. And let me know what you think. Hit the like button, hit the dislike button. Comment down below. What do you think of that plot line? What do you think are some benefits to that? What are some downsides? Some downsides to it is the next video I'm going to do, which is my sequel trilogy idea, would drastically be in jeopardy. I think some things could be done, but it would ruin the next one I put out. So making this one, I don't have a sequel trilogy for this story I just ended. But I do think there is a good story for what the story that's available now with the original trilogy. I think there's a better way to do a sequel trilogy for that. And I'm actually going to go into that next. I have a couple ideas, but that's one of the main ones. So thank you for watching. This has been Decardo Gaming. I know it's not a game, but it's still nerd-based, and I think this is a good channel to express a lot of those ideas. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.